welcome back to the show with Shannon. Today we are going to discuss a few topics, one on the problem of student loan debt, and the other one is going to be on the anti-gay bill that's trying to be passed through the Kansas Senate. So just to introduce ourselves, I'm Sionan Barrett. I'm a sophomore journalism student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. I'm the speaker of the student government, and also I have a few guests to introduce as well. So we'll go by first, Emily Hajjar, who's a senior here at UMass. Do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm the vice president for the SGA, and I'm on the women's rowing team as a coxswain. And a fun fact for me is that I'm a hardcore Red Sox fan.
Awesome. Well, nice to have you here, Emily.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we have Terranova Tasker. She is also a senior at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Terranova.
Hi, Shannon. So I'm from Alaska, fun fact. Traveled very far for this lovely interview.
Yes.
I'm a senator in student government and also on the sailing team.
Awesome. Nice to have you here, Terranova. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have senior Max Shuchman. Max?
Fun fact, I've been in over 30 different U.S. states. I'm a sport management major who also works for Eisenberg as a student ambassador. And I am also in Theta Chi fraternity.
Awesome. Well, nice to have you guys all here. So let's jump into our first subject. So we're going to talk about the issue of student loans. And first I want to start off with a quote from someone we all know pretty well, Chris Brophy. He also works with us in the student government. Chris Brophy is a full-time student and has 5 jobs. And he said, "There's not enough time to be a full-time student and have a part-time job while doing well at school." Do you guys agree with this or disagree?
Oh, I totally agree. It's very difficult to work and, do well in your classes because you're concentrated on being at work and doing that kind of thing, and then you don't have any time to do your homework, so that makes it really difficult. Yeah.
Terranova, do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, it's a big division of resources. You can't spend, 30 hours at work and then have another 30 hours of homework. I mean, it's an impossible system.
Max, I know you have a part-time job, right?
I do.
So how does that affect you and your ability to do well as a full-time student while having these part-time jobs?
It's one thing that I've definitely learned in college is time management. So that's actually one of the benefits of having a part-time job.
Yeah.
But on the downside, I don't have as much time to commit to extracurriculars, although I try. And the more I do, the less I have to start giving other stuff, like sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard there's that saying you could either have sleep, social life, or good grades in college, and I think we're all kind of struggling to get all 3 in. So.
Yes.
So here's another interesting fact. Student debt has surpassed credit card debt, with outstanding loans toppling over $1.2 trillion. And according to the Consumer Price Index, tuition is the fastest growing category, with upwards of 80% increases in college tuition over the last 10 years. How do you guys feel about this increasing number and its effect on our economy right now?
I think it's a little insane. I know back when my parents went to school, they stayed local, unlike me, who I'm an out-of-state student. But they didn't, their tuition was maybe just books and then $1,000 a semester. At this point, I think for the incoming class, the out-of-state tuition for UMass is approaching $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's starting to be a lot of kickback about college prices rising. So I know there's scholarships and grants for actually people who want to create their own businesses out of high school and not go to college.
What do you think about the increasing price of tuition and how it's affecting students right now?
I mean, I think it's pretty impossible to be a middle-class family and not go to, college without student loans at this point, especially if, you want to graduate from one of those top Ivy Leagues or even mini Ivy Leagues, so that you have that on your resume so that you can get the job that you need. It's almost impossible to afford it. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are now trying to go to state schools like UMass, to get that level of education, but at a lower price. And even still, the prices to go here are still outrageous.
Yeah, and there's also been a recent study to show that these $1.2 trillion over the course of the repayment of their loans will cost Americans over $4 trillion with the interest rate added onto that. And that's in lost income. So Terranova, what do you think is going to have, like, what do you think this impact of the $4 trillion in lost income as our students are growing older and starting to pay off these loans are going to have on future and the spending habits of, you know, our generation trying to pay off these loans?
I mean, I think it's going to have a huge impact. I think it's going to be more difficult for, you know, students in our generation to get higher paid jobs because we're all, you know, we're struggling to pay debt. And I mean, what happens, you know, 20 years down the line, we've got this massive debt, you know, our purchasing power is lower, you know, one could say less family time. I mean, I think there's some severe consequences down the road. There needs to be some sort of reform, something. I mean, having a college education benefits the economy in every possible way.
Yeah. And do you guys think this is going to affect future spending habits, like the time when you're going to buy a car or a house? Is that going to be pushed back because you're going to be worrying about paying off the loans?
Yeah, and I bet banks, you know, will see that, you know, if you try to go get a house, home loan, you know, you have this student loan that takes up most of your income, so you won't be able to afford to buy a home or even save up to buy a home. So I bet a lot of people will, you know, continue to rent and not kind of build up their capita, I guess.
Yeah.
It puts a lot of pressure on especially the seniors. I'm currently doing the job search, and I know I need to take a job with a certain salary aspect in order to be able to afford loan payments, as well as, you know, rent, food. I don't even plan on buying a car anytime soon, depending on how where my career goes.
And with all these effects that happen to young people as they're trying to pay off student loans, the question comes up, are these loans worth it? What do you think?
I mean, I guess the loans themselves, I guess, are worth it because you're, you know, I wouldn't be able to go to UMass without my student loans. And I think that my time here is invaluable, you know.
Yeah.
But the added interest rates are not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few people, and some people think that, I mean, you can go to college online now by just researching the information. So I don't know, do you think there's going to be a shift in people not coming to college and just choosing to research their way and get to where they're going to be? Or do you think that degree is what's going to get you to the next step?
I think the degree is invaluable. I'm very strong in support of like people going out, getting an education. An educated population is able to do wonders for our society. The only problem is it is coming down to a supply and demand thing, and Emily touched upon a good point about interest rates. I don't get why to find a good interest rate for a student loan, it's something like 7%, 8%. But meanwhile, we have these corporations and all these businesses getting like loans from the same banks for 0.5%, 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and according to a report recently released by the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the federal government will make $66 billion in profits off federal student loans taken out between the years of 2007 and 2012. And that leads me to my next question. Are our politicians doing enough to help take out young people from this deep and dark hole that we are being thrusted into?
They definitely are not, but we are lucky, at least from Massachusetts, to have such a great senator like Elizabeth Warren, who's been fighting this battle so hard, and she's really been leading the charge and trying to get those interest rates lowered. But a lot of politicians down in Washington, they don't care, and they think that, these loans are going to be taken out because students need to go to school, so we might as well have them do this interest rate. But it's the wrong way for them to make money. That's not good.
Right. I definitely think most politicians aren't familiar with what it's like to have student loans.
True.
And,
Yeah.
cannot relate to that particular issue.
They're kids probably don't even have them.
No, definitely not.
Nope.
And they're also probably all graduating from Ivy League schools, so it's a different battle. But I definitely think there's been a push, I think, since 2008 when this stuff really started becoming more popular in the media to like, okay, we need to do something about student loans. And I think it's a platform for a lot of politicians now. Whether that leads somewhere, I don't know, but it's definitely in the conversation more.
I think they're definitely going to need to focus on this more because as we get older and as more generations of college students graduate, enter the workforce, and become voting citizens, they're going to have to pay attention to us because we're just going to get stronger, like our voice is going to get stronger, and they're going to have to start listening to us and actually doing something about this issue. They can't just sweep it under the rug forever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, the UMass SGA is kind of doing something to make a push in this. Can any of you guys kind of explain what Lobby Day is? I know it's on March 5th. We go to the State House, and do you want to talk about what we're going to do there?
Sure. So everybody that signs up to go to Lobby Day is going to make an appointment if they're in state to talk to their state legislatures, and they're going to express their opinions on the governor's budget for the 50-50 plan to continue it to the second year, so that way we don't have an increase in tuition and fee increases.
And how important do you guys think it is to get this help from the state to help balance out the amount of tuition that students are paying?
As Massachusetts' flagship institution and a state school, I definitely think it's crucial to show that, Massachusetts is has one of the best college systems in the country. In addition to all the public schools, we have Harvard, MIT, and as well as a ton of other schools. So Massachusetts is one of the leading states in education, and to show that the state government's behind us, I think would set a great principle for not only Massachusetts in the future, but for other states as well.
I agree. And also, just to let everyone know, there are more spots on that bus for Lobby Day. There's about 30 more spots. So if you're interested, I'm going to post the link up during our commercial break. And actually, we're going to take the commercial break right now. So we'll see you after the break.
I'll make it to this club. I just wanna be the girl you like, the kind of girl you like. Take all of me. I just wanna be the girl you like.
Welcome back to the show with Shannon. I hope you enjoyed that fantastic commercial break. We're going to start on a new topic now. Is it a violation of your civil rights for a business to refuse to serve you because of the way you look, who you love, or the way you act? The answer is, it depends. 20 years ago, Arizona lost a planned Super Bowl when its legislature refused to honor Martin Luther King Day, and there is talk of losing another one if it legalizes discrimination against gays and lesbians. Last Friday, 250 gay rights supporters were at the Arizona Capitol gathering to put pressure on Arizona Governor Jan Brewer to veto a gay Jim Crow law that would make it legal for businesses to discriminate against anyone as long as it's based on a deeply held religious belief. This governor has until Friday to sign or veto the bill before it automatically becomes the law of the land. What do you guys think about this bill?
Oh, I think it's disgusting. It's really, really horrible.
Tell me how you really feel.
That's exactly how I feel. I literally was in disbelief when I saw it on CNN. And then I watched an interview, and they were talking about how vague the law actually was. And they gave a really good example of like how this law doesn't just affect gays and lesbians, but they said that, you know, if somebody was a woman unmarried with a child, like someone, if she went to a loan officer to get a loan, she wouldn't be able to get, like, they could refuse her a loan because of their religious views, which I think is terrible.
Right. And I mean, we've had 60 years of civil rights legislation in the Supreme Court saying you cannot take away, or you can't serve people based on race, religion, you know, sexual orientation. I mean, the Fourth Amendment is pretty strong, and like we've established that this type of discrimination is unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm just amazed how people don't seem to learn from history. There's a lot of, the fact that you said a gay Jim Crow law, it's a lot of similarities between the two, and Jim Crow is an embarrassing part of our history. It's a part of our history, and we do have to learn from it, but I think it's a pretty embarrassing part, so to just go right back to it, just with a different group, like, after this, what's next?
Yeah. And I mean, a bill that got a lot of attention passed through the Kansas House of Representatives with a pretty healthy majority was effectively killed in Senate last Thursday. And this Kansas bill explicitly allowed discrimination against same-sex couples and said that this would apply to food service, hotel rooms, social services, adoption rights, and even employment. And, you know, the way that this is written to deny same-sex couples in Kansas these rights, I think, you know, what you said, it's disgusting. And even though this bill didn't pass, there was a diner in Kansas that week that refused to serve a customer who happened to be gay and then posted a sign in the window saying no gay eating. I mean, what do you guys think about this, that this is still going on? I mean, I don't even know.
I mean, I think it's none of people's business, and I don't think that they should take, you know, who they love into account when they're serving them. You know, they don't, a lot of, I'm not going to be very nice about this, but a lot of Republicans don't want the government to, you know, have control over a lot of things in their lives, but then they go around and say, oh, like, you know, gays shouldn't be married. Like, that doesn't affect you at all.
Right, it doesn't make any sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they need to mind their own business and let people live the lives that they want to live and make, you know, they can live a happy life like that.
Yeah.
I think this country was founded on 3 principles: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This definitely goes against our way of life, the pursuit of happiness, and encroaches on our freedoms. I think actually what the whole same-sex issue boils down to is benefits. Like you said, adoption, social security. I think the fact that when a same-sex couple gets together in certain states, they can't legally be married, so therefore they can't get marriage benefits, which is a huge issue that they're facing. I mean, the social things, you know, that's a big part, and it shows, it reflects us and the rest of the world. But the benefits thing is what we really need to focus on to allow these people to share their benefits with people they love.
Yeah, and just a few more cases that I was researching on the internet, and it just blew my mind. I mean, a photographer refused to photograph a same-sex marriage. There was another case in Washington State where a florist refused to provide flowers for a same-sex couple's wedding. And lastly, a Colorado judge ordered a baker to bake a cake for a same-sex marriage because the baker refused to do it. So here's another interesting point. Do you think that these places have the right to refuse to serve these people based on religious beliefs?
I mean, I guess technically they do as business owners, but I'm currently in the business school, and it's just bad business for 2 reasons. One, everyone's money is the same. Money is money. And 2, if you start denying certain people certain people's business, well, then you're going to have a backlash from others who don't want to be associated with you, and B, you're going to develop a reputation of a certain type of business that you might not want.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for contributing on that topic, and we're going to go to our last commercial break before we're going to hit a fun topic that is going to make a few of you giggle on the other side of the screen. So we'll see you at the other end of the break.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't forget.
So welcome back. Now for our last topic, we're going to be talking about something very interesting. There's a new app called the Bro app, and it programs messages for boyfriends to send to their girlfriends automatically. Max, I know you have some insider information on this, a little more to share, so go ahead.
Yeah, I have seen some articles on this. It was made by 2 fraternity guys, so it has that little stigma, but at the same time, it's a very intelligently made app. It's an app that you can program certain messages that are either, you know, they have a list of like pre-selected messages, or you could make your own customized message, and then you could set a timer. so when you could send the messages to your significant other. Additionally, it also actually picks up on the Wi-Fi signals. So it knows that if you and your significant other are on the same Wi-Fi signal, or you're in your home, it won't send any messages. So you don't get your cover blown, I guess. I don't necessarily agree with the app, but I have to say it's a pretty complex app.
Yeah, ladies, what do you think about this app?
I totally agree that it sounds really cool and like interesting, but like I don't understand why there's not an app for women to do it for their boyfriends.
Yeah.
Like, why is it just guys? I mean, maybe that's something we could do.
Right,
But
that should be our new project.
yeah, I mean, and it also sucks because like guys have it easy, you know, sending their messages to their girlfriends like
Right.
on a timer, not really genuine, you know.
Yeah, like I don't want your text message if you thought about it like 5 hours ago and set a timer to it. Like that's ridiculous. Like no, don't send it to me. No, because it doesn't mean anything. Like,
A robot sent it.
But,
Yeah.
but how would you know?
Well,
That's the creative thing about the app.
well, if you started,
well, that's true.
yeah,
But once you find out about the app, I'd be real pissed.
I'd be done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you'd be okay with the app without knowing about it, because then you'd think, wow, he's really thoughtful. You know, he's thinking of me all the time. So what would you do if you had a boyfriend, hypothetically?
Thank you. Hypothetically.
If you had a boyfriend and you felt, you know, really cared for because you're getting all these text messages, what would you personally do the moment you found out they were automated?
I would laugh
Automated.
quite a bit. And then I'd tell him to delete it. Because, like, that's so stupid. He can text me when he's, you know, on his own.
Now, Terranova, this
Yeah.
app also features a girlfriend safety lockdown feature, which directs inquisitive girlfriends to a list of gifts that her boyfriend was planning to buy her, rather than the automated messages. Now, what do you think about this area of the app?
I think that's ridiculous and like wrong. Like the whole thing is silly. Like why would I want your automated text and not your real text? I mean, just it's silly. I think it's really silly and I don't like it at all.
Max, I mean, for you, if you could get away with using this app and your girlfriend wouldn't know about it, would you try it for a little bit?
Honestly, I've had ex-girlfriends who like hate the way I text. I don't. I am a pretty bad texter, so I could actually see some benefit to the app. I feel like it's one of those things that can be used like in a good way, but I'm feeling the majority of the people who download the app will not use it in the best way with the
Yeah.
best intentions. But it could honestly help someone like me who like just, you know, I mean it's nice to like send someone that you care about a message saying that you care.
Yeah.
But it's just sometimes hard for people to get either A, the right words out, or B, the right timing.
Yeah.
And I bet it's hard for guys because I bet you don't really want to talk to your guy friends about like, oh, like what should I send to this girl? Like, what do you think's the best way to say it? But like, we talk all the time.
We do it more often than you think.
Oh, well, then that's good.
We do it more often than you think.
That's good to know.
So, do guys go in like a little room? I mean, not like after when they try and find out what they're going to say. But if you're trying to figure out what to say to a girl, do you ask a few buddies before you send that text?
First of all, we have a war room. That we go into. No, I'm just kidding. No, so it's one of those things where like, you know, if I'm texting a girl and I'm with like out to lunch with like one or two friends, I'd be
Yeah.
like, hey, do you want to just check to see if this makes sense, or like this is something that sounds nice? But it's just like if someone's with you, like if I'm by
Yeah.
myself, I'm not going to actively search out one of my friends to say, hey, what do you think about this?
That's what we would
And I
do.
think that's the difference.
That's the difference.
I feel like we actively search out
Very
second
actively.
opinions.
We'll send like screenshots of what we want to say.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
To get some insight into the guy mind, you know, that foreign world. But thank you guys for coming on the show with Shannon. You guys have been great guests today. So thank you, Emily, Terranova, and Max. And thank you, the audience, for watching every week, even though it's only been 2. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.